taste of the turnaround on the Led Zeppelin classic You Shook Me from Led Zeppelin I. This is a great slide tune to learn if you're just starting out on slide, because not only is it relatively easy, but it's in standard tuning. A lot of people who don't want to try slide are afraid of messing with alternate tunings, which is what Jimmy uses on most of his slide stuff. But You Shook Me is in standard tuning, so just take whatever guitar you want to play and try to play along with this. The only thing I have going on that's at all special here is this extension nut, which I've done a separate video on that was called something like Easy Way to Learn Slide Guitar, where I demo this $10 piece of kit that makes it very easy to play slide because it lifts the strings off the fretboard enough that you don't get a lot of the rattle that makes it annoying to play slide when you're just starting out. So this one is going to focus on the E minor pentatonic scale. If you don't know the E minor pentatonic scale, you may want to go back and do some beginner lessons from Justin Guitar or somewhere. Jimmy plays a mixture of leads and rhythms on this. I'm going to show you the slide leads on this Melody Maker, and then I'm going to show you the chunky rhythm part on my Telecaster because it doesn't have the strings way off the fretboard like this one does. So you're going to start up at the 12th fret, slide into it, first string. That's the root note, right? That's the E note, that's the 1, that's the tonic. Just go back and forth between 12 and 10. Try to get a little vibrato in there. It's easier with heavier strings. I don't have heavy strings on this guitar. And then he basically just walks down the E minor pentatonic scale. 10, 12, 10, 12, 9. Okay? And then he slides off that note at the 9th fret. 3rd string, which is also the root note, is also an E. So again, one more time. 12, 10, 12, 12, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 9. Slide off. Second time he does that, he just does a slight variation. Something along those lines. It's not exact. He plays it differently live, obviously. Pull up a YouTube version, whether you want to go live or the original studio version. Play it along with it. You'll get it. That's one of the beauties of slide, right? You slide around until it sounds right? Until it sounds like what you're hearing, okay? So, then, after he plays that descending lick twice, you get into that sweet turnaround that I showed a little bit. This is at the 9th fret. So easy because you're just playing an arpeggio of an E major chord. Okay? If you think about your E major chord here, the movable A shape that you would play here at the 7th and 9th fret, that's just an E major chord. So 4, 3, 2 at the 9th fret. So after you play that arpeggio at the 9th fret, you just walk down on the 2nd string, 8, 7, and then 9, 7, and back on the 3rd string. Okay. And then you go 4, 3, 2, you play that E major chord and slide off it to the 5, which is a B chord, right? Think of your B chord, movable A shape at the 4th fret there. And I think sometimes he goes B to A and back. The reason that's hard to do is when you're playing slide guitar, you're trying to mute the strings behind the slide with your other fingers, depending on which finger you play the slide with. If you play the slide on the ring finger, you're trying to mute with these two fingers. So I'm so used to doing that, when I slide back there, I'm still muting. I have to lift up ever so much to get that. Okay, but in general, again, here we're going. He does a lot of vibrato on those two notes. And then one other thing about technique is, you know, you want to be playing with your fingers with your right hand. You want to be hitting the bottom notes with your thumb, while you're muting like the 6th and 5th string with the back of your thumb and your palm, and trying to mute some of these other top strings that you're not playing with your other fingers. On a song this simple, you can really just get away with thumb and forefinger. And you notice that I'm kind of anchoring these other fingers under the E string when I'm not playing the E string, so that it's not ringing out unwantedly. All right. Obviously, I'm a rank amateur here with slide as well. I've only been really messing around with it for, I don't know, no more than a year off and on, but that's why I wanted to share one that's fairly easy and fun to play as a beginner. Okay, so that's the intro, and then it goes into the verse, obviously, and there's this chunky rhythm part, which again I'll show you in a second on the telly. But it's basically chunking on an E chord. That sounds terrible, but again, it'll sound better on the telly. Basically, you're just going E, A, G, E. And then he starts playing the melody line as Plant is singing it. So chunk, 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 dun, dun, chunk. You know you shook me, baby, right? So this is all that E minor pentatonic scale there at the 9th and 7th fret, starting on the 9th fret, 4th string. 9, 7, 9, 8, 9. Slide off. Then you know you shook me all night long. 9, 7, 9, 8, 9, 7. Slide off. Those are both over the 1. 1 to the 4. And then over the 5, as you'd expect in the key of E, the 5 is B. He goes up to the B note, which is the 12th fret. 2nd string, that's your 5, that's your B note. So 12, 10, 12, 12, 10, 12 on the B string. 12 on the 1st string, 12 on the 2nd string, 10, 8, fall off. And then back up to 12, the 1 on the 1st string. He really lets that ring, right? So that's just sort of like the end of the intro. So again, over the 5. Then back up to 12, back to 10. So that's that's both verses, and then at the end of the second or third verse, before it goes into the organ solo, he goes, he just walks up on that B string, the second string, from 9 to 12, ending on the 5, right, on the B note, for that turnaround leading into the solo. So that would be like, something along those lines. Then the organ solo comes in, which, you know, kind of disappointing, right? You'd rather have Jimmy just rip a slide solo there, but instead you get John Paul with the organ. And Jimmy does, of course, later play a solo, but it's a fingered solo, not a slide solo. I'm going to switch to the Tele here and just quickly show you that rhythm part, which is very chunky. Okay, so the rhythm part, you're just going to bar the 5th and 4th strings at the 2nd fret like you're playing an E5 power chord. That's it. So you chunk on that E5, then slide your middle finger 5, 3, open. So A, G, E. That's sick, right? That's very, very sick and chunky. And then he mixes in you can hear the difference between this guitar, which has very low action, and the Gibson, which has the high action as far as how well the slide rings out. But etc. So, you know, if you're getting that kind of sound with your guitar, don't fret, haha, pun intended. Don't fret about it, because that's kind of natural if you're just starting out and you've got your guitar set up for regular fretting. It's not going to sound awesome with the slide unless you're a very advanced slide player, in which case you're not watching this, right? So play around with this, have some fun with it. As usual, that was quick and dirty, but just trying to give you an idea of something that will be fun and easy to play and hopefully give you some confidence with the slide. I'm playing a Quilter Mini 101 head, which is a freaking amazing solid state bundle of joy, and a cabinet made by Mark Nerby, a drummer from Salem, Oregon. He makes wonderful cabinets on eBay. He sells them. Mark Nerby, N-E-R-B-Y. Eminence Copperhead, very savory speaker, I would recommend. Okay, thank you for joining me. See you next time.